You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Welcome into the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Your friend Sam Dykstra is in New York City. My name is Tyler Mon. He's my friend also. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Tyler.
I was going to say
yeah,
your
we're all
friend
spread out.
And mine, and then I just cut it out after your friend. I just said your friend Sam Dykstra, like I was talking to like a son that I was disappointed. Your friend Sam Dykstra called here.
I would like to apologize for whatever I've done, Mr. Mon. I didn't mean to do it, and it'll never happen again.
Oh man, yeah, we're all spread out. We're all over the world,
right? Yeah, you're in Taiwan. Ben is, I think, currently on the road between Nashville and Bowling Green. I'll catch up with him later. Ben's on his last road trip, never mind penultimate, just straight up last road trip of 2023, going through the American Midwest and parts of the South, I guess. Yeah, Nashville's the South, Kentucky's the South. So yeah, we'll catch up with him later. I'm in New York City, as I always am, but I might be hitting the road again next week. So keep an eye out for that. That's a little tease. We can talk about that more next week, but yeah, the season's almost over, but it's not over yet. And as you can prove, there's baseball being played everywhere. I mean,
there is
what have you seen out of the
to be played and to be watched and to be caught?
So what have you seen out of the World Cup so far?
Yeah, U18 Baseball World Cup. We're into the Super Round, which is the round of the top 6 teams of the 12 that started the opening round last week. It has been really fun. It has been a lot of surprises, I would say, this time around. I'll cut to the chase. USA Baseball, the team that probably most everybody who listens to this podcast would be interested in. I'll be honest with you, not really blowing me away. We have seen some really freakishly talented USA Baseball teams come through the U18 World Cup in recent years. They've won 5 of the last 6 U18 World Cups. This is really the launching pad event. We at the WBSC side, we've got U12 and U15 Baseball World Cups. U15s is kind of when it really starts getting fun, when you can start seeing projectability in athletes and all that. U18s, it's legit. We've got some players who already signed on certain teams internationally, a lot of players who will be in the draft next year. And this year, USA Baseball, trying to defend their championship from the last World Cup. They made it through the opening round with just one loss. They lost a 4-3 game to Japan, a game they trailed 4-0 going into the bottom of the 7th inning, and then rallied for 3. They left the tying run on base. But tonight, it is currently Thursday night here in Taiwan when we're recording. It's Thursday morning for Sam. They just, 30 minutes ago, lost to Chinese Taipei. The name of the team that plays for Taiwan here tonight. And, they got shut out. It was a 3-0 game. They just have not blown the doors off. They haven't had really a game where, the offense comes to life and you think, all right, they're here now. They've had stretches in games where I think it's felt that way. They had a game against Panama. They were leading 6-0 after the top of the 3rd. And you thought, all right, they're going to roll this team. They ended up winning that game 6-4. And Panama had the tying run on base in the bottom of the 7th and had the winning run at the plate. So it has been interesting to watch. And I'm not sure if it's a circumstance where, the talent level is just a little bit different than what we've seen in years past, or if it's, something with the travel or roster construction or whatever. But this team has just not quite looked as world beating, I would say, as we've come to expect from a lot of U18 US teams. Now, they still have, 3 days left. If everything goes well, they'll play 2 more super round games. And then on Sunday, there will be a bronze medal game and the World Championship final. But so far, they've lost to the other 2 best teams in this tournament. They lost to Japan. They lost to Chinese Taipei tonight. And they've been close losses, sure, but it doesn't really help So I'm not really sure what to put my finger on with this team, but it is kind of interesting to see a USA baseball team that just does not look dominant. On the other side, some really fun prospects internationally. I think the biggest storyline from teams not named USA Baseball, the Netherlands made it into the super round for the second straight year at the U18 level. They threw a no-hitter against Venezuela, a combined no-hitter that was kind of an ugly one. They issued 11 walks in that game, and they won it 8-2. But then 2 days later, they got a complete game no-hitter out of a kid named Maxwell Cornelissen, who went all 7 against Spain, struck out, I believe, 8 in that one, only allowed a couple of base runners, one on a hit by pitch and one on a drop third strike. That's been very cool to watch. Now, the Netherlands did drop a game today to open the super round against Puerto Rico, but they have been really fun to watch. Japan, there is a next generation of stars coming up in Japan. They got a second baseman named Ren Ogata on that team, who has been terrifically fun to watch. He came into the day today, I believe, 9 for his first 13 in the tournament. Extra base hits and, just good pop and flash for a second baseman. But it's, the game of baseball is alive and as good as ever. There has not been a single team here that has looked outmatched. Nobody is, even the teams that have struggled and that have fallen into the consolation round, what's called the placement round for WBSC, those teams have substantial talent as well. There are guys, Spain went winless in the group that I covered for the opening round. Spain's got guys who are in the MLB Academy in Germany, guys who really look like projectable future pros. So, there's a lot to keep an eye on for all these athletes going forward. And we still got 3 days left here, which should make for an exciting finish.
Yeah, for sure. One interesting thing about that to me, like you said, I having covered PDP, which was part of the selection process for this, hearing from scouts saying this high school class isn't quite up to snuff to what others have been, which happens, right? Like just the ebb and flow of talent. There's nothing to explain it. It just, sometimes there's good years, sometimes there's a little rougher years, but also just hearing that like Japan and Chinese Taipei are really, really good.
Yeah.
It's just another reminder that, it isn't just the professional leagues that we're getting guys from. I mean, Shohei Ohtani was coming up as a young kid and was considered one of the best talents in the world. And there's more coming. And the fact that other teams or other countries are kind of catching up to us is a credit to them as much as it is to the state of USA baseball.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see. I have a great color analyst here, a guy named Keith Jung, who's a former employee in the Cubs organization. He was a minor league strength coach for the Cubs, and Keith is Taiwanese. He's from here, and he's based in Taipei now, and he works as a strength coach for an industrial league team here. But Keith and I were talking about how teams tend to succeed, especially from, Japan, Korea, the Chinese Taipei teams. They'll succeed and win more tournaments more often, especially at these younger levels, than the Latin American teams will. But the Latin American teams produce vastly more major leaguers. And what's interesting is just the rate at which these players develop. You'll see guys, the Venezuela team that was here, or the Puerto Rico team that's here, the Panama team that's here. You can see players and realize like, oh, that kid is going to be a stud someday. Like he's already getting there. But learning to play baseball at a high level, those players just continue to get better and better and better as they get into, especially those young first pro years. And it's really cool to see the different developmental tracks for all of these athletes across the world. So there is certainly a lot of talent in this tournament, but it is interesting. I was talking with an MLB director of amateur scouting and asked him about who he was most excited for, especially with USA Baseball. And he kind of, had to scratch his head and say, there are some tools with some guys that we're really excited about. But I definitely got the impression that there is not a can't miss prospect on the USA Baseball roster for sure. There's a lot, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good ball players. But, the teams that have come through in years past, you really looked at and thought, oh, this is a team that's got half a dozen first rounders on it. And this next draft class coming out of the high school ranks just does not seem quite as deep and that top level talent. But I also had a scouting director tell me, I don't think this is the most talented roster that USA Baseball could have put together. I think they left a lot of talent at home. But when you're trying to build a roster for a 10-day tournament, you have to look at things beyond just talent. You have to look at how you're going to be able to use players, the way they are going to handle the travel, the way they're going to handle the schedule, the way they're going to handle their playing time. So that was a really interesting thing to hear as well. And, I got 3 days to get it all sorted out and see who comes out on top. But it is a fun event. If you're ever in a place that is hosting the U18 Baseball World Cup, and last year it was in Florida, so it probably won't be back in the U.S. for a little while. But if you ever happen to find yourself somewhere around the world that's hosting one of these events, it is really cool to see sort of the next generation of superstars come through. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani took part. Darvish took part in this. Clayton Kershaw was on the U.S. national team. Tristan Casas is probably the most recent example of a guy who was 5 years ago. Tristan Casas was on this U18 team, and now he's a Rookie of the Year candidate in the American League. So a lot of talent. It is a super fun event to work.
Yeah,
so,
and if anybody ever goes, they can find you.
Yeah, you can let me know. I'll probably be around.
As the voice of the tournament,
yelling into a microphone. Being one of those people. It's actually been cool. We've got an outdoor booth here. They set us up in a different place than we've been at different times in this stadium, and it's kind of neat because we're in the scouting section. So every once in a while, a game will end and I'll have some random scout walk by and tap me on the arm like, "Hey, nice job," and I'm like, "I didn't realize you guys were listening," which is kind of funny. But it has been it's been a bunch of fun. And speaking of a bunch of fun, it's September, Sam, and that means there are a lot of prospects headed up to the major leagues who we have not seen tested at the big league level as of yet. And this year, there are a lot of prospects who are getting the call who it's kind of shocking that we're seeing them at the major league level. Maybe not shocking, but I would say surprising, certainly for a lot of these guys. And some of them do, I think, border on shocking. 3 that we're going to focus on. Jason Dominguez, the Martian, has arrived in New York with the New York Yankees. Homered in his first major league at bat. He's been impressive so far. And this is a guy who, remember, his scouting comparisons when he signed with the Yankees at 16 years old were things like Bo Jackson, Mickey Mantle, and Mike Trout. And that's not us saying that. That was Major League scouts put those comparisons on Jason Dominguez, which is insane to me. There were, talks over the last few years that had Jason Dominguez regressed, blah, blah, blah. This year, he's had a very good year, and he finally gets a call to the major league level. He is not the only top prospect in New York to get the call. Ronnie Mauricio up with the New York Mets. So that Mets next prospect class really has pretty much arrived in Queens. And then came a surprising item from the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, Jordan Lawler getting the call to the major league level. I did not expect to see Jordan Lawler in the big leagues this year. I don't know if that was something that was on your radar. I think we knew it was a possibility, but seeing that really surprised me. Give us your thoughts on these 3 guys going up.
Yeah, I'll start with Jordan Lawler because, like you said, it might be the most shocking of all of them. I don't know. When we were looking at like who could be called up in September, I put Jordan Lawler in a not likely bucket. I mean, he just got to AAA on August 15th. So he just got there, had a very solid ending to his time at AA, performed well at AAA. Don't get me wrong. Like he was hitting the ball really well for Reno, but it's the Pacific Coast League. He was playing in Reno, which is a launching pad. He played games in Sugar Land, which is another launching pad. His last game for the Aces was at Albuquerque, which, as you know, Tyler, is another launching pad. He had
the
2 homers
Coors
in that game.
of New Mexico, we shall say.
Yeah. So the guy was doing well, but he was doing well in places that you kind of expect him to. As long as he's getting the ball up in the air, he has the power to clear the fences. So I thought it was going to be getting him more time at AAA, ending on a good note. But, the D-backs, as we sit here on Thursday, are half a game out of a wild card spot. And that NL wildcard race is insane. I mean, we can't even rule out the Padres, who are like 5-6 games back, because they have the best run differential of that group. It's feel like a sleeping giant going on for close to 6 months now, but a sleeping giant nonetheless. There are a lot of teams in that mix. And if you're the D-backs and you were looking at your shortstop options and you see Jordan Lawler hitting the ground running at AAA, they decided to pull the lever. And I think a lot of this has to do with the prospect promotion incentives. I'm going to be honest with you. The prospect promotion incentives were a new part of the CBA that if a top 100 prospect opens up the year on the opening day roster and stays on that roster, and then goes on to win Rookie of the Year or MVP or Cy Young in their first 3 years before arbitration, their organization gets an extra draft pick at the end of the first round. We saw the Mariners take advantage of this with Julio Rodriguez. We saw both the D-backs and the Orioles do this last year with Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll. They called them both up late, so they were still prospect eligible by the time opening day rolled around. But they had major league experience. And now what do we see? Corbin Carroll and Gunnar Henderson are the runaway favorites, I would say, to win Rookie of the Year in the AL and the NL. So you're seeing guys like Jordan Lawler. Hey, if he can help us right now, let's not hold him down any longer. Let's bring him up. He'll still be prospect eligible. We can still take advantage of those incentives, and we can use his skills now. So calling him up when they did, is shocking in a bubble in that he got so limited time at AAA, but not necessarily in the broader picture. You look at what he was doing in his last 66 games since the start of June between AA and AAA, was batting .321, had a .970 OPS, had 14 homers and 23 stolen bases. So he's a power speed guy. He can do both really well. He can run the bases really well. He's shown an ability to hit for power. I know Reno, I said, was a great place for hitters. Amarillo is also a really good place for hitters, so I think he took advantage of that. I think the bat's going to take a little while longer to come around against major league pitching in more pitcher-friendly environments. But he's fast enough. He can play shortstop ably. He could certainly be a help to the D-backs if they're going to try to chase down this wild card spot. And they have said he is our starting shortstop. So this is not just bringing a guy up and having him wallow on the bench. The other two guys you mentioned, Jason Dominguez. I mean, it was really difficult evaluating him at the beginning of the year. He's only 20 years old. They sent him to AA, super young for that level. There was a time where his batting average was around 210 and his OBP was like 150 points higher. I mean, the guy was taking walks at a really good rate, but was not hitting really well. Now, I know batting average isn't what it used to be and all that, but it was just a really funky line to see at the beginning of the year. Then you look at what he's done, to kind of end his time in the Yankees minor league system anyways, between AA and AAA. And he got a little bit of time at AAA, kind of similar to Lawler. He's called up on August 22nd and was up in the majors a week later. But between AA and AAA since July 1st to the end of his time with Scranton, he had a .346 average, .926 OPS, 5 homers, and 22 stolen bases. Now, he had absurd hype, like you mentioned, coming into pro ball when he first signed. And I think he was almost I don't want to say he was a victim of the pandemic, but like he was signed and then did not play that first year because of the pandemic. So all we had was the hype, and it continued to build, and he was posting social media, videos and stuff like that, looking really good. And we were just wondering who he was going to be. And then he shows up and it's not quite what you would have hoped immediately. It certainly didn't look like Mickey Mantle. Last year looked fatigued in the Arizona Fall League, had a rough start this year, but really came on strong. And now you're kind of seeing it with the Yankees. He is their starting center fielder. He is adding that energy in a really interesting way. Now, I don't think this hot start's going to last forever. He's got like a 199 WRC plus or OPS plus rather. So far, he's slugging 810 through 21 at bats. I don't think that's necessarily who he can be, but the guy is super talented. He always has been. And there were some questions about would he be able to stick in center? Looks like he will so far. We'll see how things go along for the Yankees. But the reason why they brought him up in part was because, hey, they are not competitive this year. They are not going to go for a playoff spot. They're trying to evaluate what they have. They brought up Everson Pereira. They brought up Austin Wells. They're undergoing a little bit of a youth movement because they're the Yankees. They should be making big moves in the offseason, but maybe they don't have to if these guys look ready. Right now, Jason Dominguez is looking like somebody who should be an opening day outfielder for the Yankees next season. And that can inform some of the moves they make from here. Is he their center fielder? Do they move him to left? Something like that. We'll see. Obviously, Aaron Judge is going to take up one of those spots. Giancarlo Stanton, if he's still on the roster, obviously is primarily a DH, but still needs some outfield time if you want to keep him valuable. So the Yankees have to figure some stuff out, but part of that evaluation process is going to be with Dominguez. And the Mets are kind of in a similar spot with Ronnie Mauricio. You mentioned the Mets young core, which for years we've talked about, is Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio, not necessarily in that order. Now they're all on the major league roster. They're not looking as good as they once did as prospects. I think Alvarez is clearly their catcher of the present, their catcher of the future. Brett Beatty got sent down for a while. Mark Vientos isn't killing the ball like you would need him to, given the rest of his profile. But Ronnie Mauricio was the last guy to kind of fall into place. And the guy hits the ball hard. Don't get me wrong. His first major league hit was the hardest hit ball by a Met all season. There might be some adrenaline at play there, but it was 117 miles an hour. The guy can hit the ball hard. He always has. His max AAA velocity or exit velocity was 116. So he's always been able to swing the bat hard. He just gets super aggressive with his approach, doesn't walk much, can expand the zone. Sometimes that means putting bat on ball, but sometimes it means striking out more than he should. His strikeout numbers are down this year, but still, he's not making the quality of contact that he could for somebody with his raw power. He's played a lot of second base as the season's gone on. They've tried him in other spots. He came up as a shortstop. Francisco Lindor is going to block him there. I think he might be better fit at third base given his size and his arm. But, again, Brett Beatty's playing there. Mark Vientos needs some time there. So you stick him at second, move Jeff McNeil to the outfield, and just, again, see what you have. He's hitting the ball hard early. Like I said, he's doing everything you would hope he could. And the Mets are going to, again, have to make some decisions going into the offseason. I don't know if they're going to try to be as competitive as the Yankees. We've already heard like Justin Verlander say out the door, or, and Max Scherzer say out the door that this seems like a club competing for 2025, not necessarily 2024. So if that's the case, then Ronnie Mauricio is likely going to be their opening day second baseman next year. But again, get his feet wet, especially if he needs to improve his approach. The only way he can do that against major league pitching is to see major league pitching. So that's what we're seeing here. And just to circle back to Lawler, these are the guys who are up so far. We're sitting here on September 7th. These are the ones getting the call. Some of these minor leagues are going to be ending soon. AAA is a few weeks away. So guys can hang out there a little bit longer. But if guys like Jordan Lawler are getting called up, who knows who's just around the corner.
And that really is where we sit right now. We are heading into the final weeks of the minor league regular season. For those who don't follow the regular season at every level on a week-to-week basis, Sam, give us kind of a status report of where we are with teams clinching playoff berths. We've got short season teams already winning titles. And of course, moving on toward the postseason in the Class A ranks at AA and at AAA.
Yeah, so single A and high A will be finishing up their regular seasons this week. Not all playoffs are set just yet because of the new format being a first half champion and a second half champion from your division. But like the Northwest League, the championship series is already set. It's Everett and Vancouver. A lot of these other ones we're still waiting on, standings to settle in. You look at like the Carolina League. We know that Down East Wood Ducks have a spot. The Myrtle Beach Pelicans have a spot. Charleston River Dogs, Florida State League. We already know this is a fun one. Jupiter will be playing Palm Beach. So two teams that normally share a park, but have had to move.
A commuter series, if you will.
A commuter series,
from one clubhouse to the other.
Yeah. What do you call that for Southeast Florida instead of the subway series?
The golf cart series.
There we go. There it is. I was going to struggle with that. Jupiter versus Palm Beach in the East Division. Clearwater is still waiting its opponent in the Florida State League West Division. Carolina League, like I said, Down East Wood Ducks awaiting its opponent in the North Division. It'll be Charleston, a Rays affiliate, going up against your former club, Tyler, the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, a Cubs affiliate in the Carolina League South. San Jose and Rancho Cucamonga have clinched their spots in the California League, but are both waiting to see who they will be playing starting next week. And then in high A, I already mentioned the Northwest League, Hudson Valley and Greenville. So our Yankees and Red Sox affiliate have clinched spots in the South Atlantic League North and the South Atlantic League South. We'll have to see how those divisions shake out. Midwest League, it's the Great Lakes Loons coming out of the East Division for the first half champs, and the Cedar Rapids Colonels, a Twins affiliate, in the West Division. There's some other battles still going on, obviously, in AA, but we can talk about that more next week because AA still has another week of the regular season, and then AAA after that. And AAA, we know that Norfolk has the first International League playoff spot, and Oklahoma City has the first Pacific Coast League playoff spot. Those are not by divisions; those are just by straight up leagues. So the first half champ will go up against the second half champ and from the entire league. And then the winners of those games will meet in Vegas for the AAA National Championship game. So we're actually talking about playoffs. Cue up Herman Edwards. We're actually talking about playoffs now. And next week, the games will actually begin, and we will crown some champions pretty quick. I mean, these series happen quicker than you think.
They do happen in the snap of a finger, snap of two fingers. Anyway, so you can check out milb.com. You can get all the scheduling and all the information for upcoming postseason series in the minor leagues. All right, Sam, what do we got? What do we got with Ben this week? I'm going to bed soon. What are you two talking about?
Yeah, I'll get Ben on the horn here in a little bit to talk about the first start of his trip. I mean, he went to Nashville. I was in Nashville earlier this season, so I'm sure we'll have some good sounds stories to share. He's on his way to Bowling Green, so we'll check in on that, and he'll be able to talk about what's coming the rest of the trip, which is again his final trip of 2023. So here's me talking to Ben. Well, as promised, we are joined now on the road on his last, not penultimate, but actually last trip of 2023. Benjamin Hill is joining us from the road. And if you are calling to Ben on the road, there are chances that he's going to be at one of two places, either at the minor league ballpark or at the record store. So, Ben, where do we find you on this fine day?
The latter, of course. It is a Thursday afternoon in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm talking to you in my rental car, a Toyota Corolla, for those who care about those type of things, in the parking lot of Grimey's Record Store. And it's a great record store. They opened a new location in 2019 that is way better than the old one that I've been to. 2 levels, a stage in the back. Really great selection of stuff. Per usual, I went in being like, maybe I'll get one thing, and I got more than one thing. And I've just got too many records, and they're hard to travel with, but it's just, you just can't say no to places like this, or at least I can't. So I've had a good morning in Nashville. I visited what to me are the 3 G's of Nashville. I went to Gabby's Burgers, which is an excellent little hole in the wall, super friendly burger place. And I can get them jazz style, gluten-free on a lettuce wrap or on a gluten-free bun. But really great burgers at Gabby's, and really great atmosphere as well. Highly recommended. And Gabby's is right near Greer, the second G, the former home of the Nashville Sounds, which just does not exist anymore. Like, I went over there and I couldn't even find just some bit of faded grandstand, plywood somewhere. I couldn't find the outline of a field whatsoever. But I still felt I had to check out Greer Stadium, or what Greer used to be. And then the third G here, Grimey's, a great record store. So, time's been limited. It's a 24-hour stay in Nashville. And it's been a lot of fun, though. And, of course, saw the Nashville Sounds yesterday night at First Horizon Park. And it's been the first time I went there in 8 years. So good to get reacquainted with the Nashville Sounds.
Yeah, for sure. And people who have listened to the show all summer know that I was at First Horizon Park earlier this summer for an MLB Pipeline Game of the Month alongside Kelsey Hennigan. We did kind of a specialty show from Nashville, talking to the manager, Rick Sweet, hitting coach, some other folks behind the scenes. But Ben, in your trip, I mean, you're going there, like you said, it was on September 6th. Season's about wrapping up. A little bit different time to see the Sounds. What stood out from this return, like you said, for the first time in 8 years?
Well, for me, yeah, just the passage of time. When I went in 2015, the ballpark had just opened, I believe, with a slightly different corporate name, but now it's First Horizon Park. And, the story then was a very typical story when there's a new minor league ballpark of like, there's going to be a lot of development around this area. And that development obviously had not happened 8 years ago. And in some cases with minor league ballparks or just ballparks, arenas, sports facilities in general, it doesn't happen. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. There's a lot of variables. But really a essentially new, or at least new era of a Nashville neighborhood has popped up around First Horizon Park. And maybe it's not the most pleasant view right now in left field, but there is a ton of construction on new apartment buildings looming over left field. Um, as you guys saw when you visited Nashville, there's businesses along the third baseline that all have kind of balconies that look onto the field. There's a Brooklyn Bowl, a music venue, which of course originated in Brooklyn, very close to where I used to live. And there's a sports bar and a brewery. And there's other places around the general area of that nature. So it's a lot more built up of an area than it was 8 years ago, and I think that's what jumped out to me as well. And the sounds, really prioritize, making it a fun atmosphere with a lot of room to move. They really put a strong emphasis on the bandbox area and right field to kind of have a drink, hang out, get some of the more unique food in the ballpark. Giant Connect Four and cornhole, and most intriguingly to me, a 9-hole mini golf course with each of the holes designed by local artists. So there's a lot going on out there in the outfield. And of course, hey, you and me, the real baseball head, we also want to see some baseball. But if the sounds definitely cater to people who don't really need to pay any attention to baseball whatsoever out there at the ballpark. And it was in September, so not one of the bigger crowds. They played as their Copa identity, La Musica de Nashville. The music of Nashville, the Nashville sounds, still paying tribute to Nashville's music history. They had the Nolansville Little League team in attendance, who went to the Little League World Series. So they were the stars of the show in the pregame. So there's still quite a lot going on, and a beautiful, beautiful night for baseball. Really great baseball sky as the sun set, dark, deep purple, like the Rock Band. Just really beautiful atmosphere. So it was a great night to be in Nashville, even if it was a Wednesday in September.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sense I got too, is that it's a really strong baseball town because it's a very strong events town. I mean, Nashville knows how to throw a party, knows how to get people together from all different types of walks of life. And that presence is felt at First Horizon Park. So I'm glad you had that similar experience. I remember you talking about the apartments that are going up in left field and talking to some folks there. And they were saying, you used to be able to see all the way to the train tracks, which were like blocks away. That was all just flat land heading towards the city. And now it's really being built up, and people who might stay in those apartments can be looking down and watching Sounds games and be part of that community still. Not paying a ticket, but maybe they'll look down in there, see all the cornholes, see the mini golf, and decide they want to spend a little extra to be part of the experience. So definitely, Nashville is a developing city. There are cranes up everywhere around there, but
everywhere.
Yeah, it's insane. All right. Well, Ben, this is just the start of your trip. Like you said, you're starting in Nashville, going next to Bowling Green, which is happening on the day we're talking here on Thursday. What I really like about this itinerary, you start in Nashville. Basically, you're going due north, going to Bowling Green, then Louisville, then Indianapolis, and then taking a 90-degree turn right and heading over to Columbus. So as you look forward to those stops, and next week we'll talk about what you saw, but kind of preview for us the rest of the trip, hitting up Bowling Green and then 3 straight AAA International League clubs.
Yeah, I'm glad this itinerary came together, especially at the end of the season. Good way to close things out. Every place I'm visiting, I haven't been to, but in between something like 9 and 11 years. So definitely due to hit these teams anyway, and a lot of baseball history in this area, and covering a lot of ground. I like that I'm hitting all these different states. And I'll be at Bowling Green Hot Rods tonight. I mean, essentially when we're done speaking, Sam, I'm in the rental car right now. I'm pulling out of Grimey's and heading straight to Bowling Green. That's not a very long drive. I've not been to Bowling Green since 2013, their inaugural season, I believe. I believe that's when they started. So it's been a long time since I've been to Bowling Green. So really looking forward to getting back there again. They are playing as the Bootleggers tonight on a Thursday. They do that almost every Thursday. I guess a Thirsty Thursday tie-in, but that's paying tribute to the illegal stills and moonshine running operations of Kentucky and the Bowling Green area. And per usual, I wish I had more time to explore Bowling Green. There's like Mammoth Caves down there. I went there when I was in my early 20s, and just amazing. I'd love to visit that Corvette museum where there was a sinkhole collapse. I was just talking to a friend of mine in the record store, and he said that where there was a sinkhole in the Corvette museum where all these classic cars collapsed into it, they covered some of the cars they didn't take out, and they covered that with glass. So now you can go into what used to be the Corvette museum showroom, peer down into down through glass, and see Corvettes eternally captured in a sinkhole. And I'll tie that back around to minor league baseball, because the Bowling Green Hot Rods actually did play as the Sinkholes one time, one of the more unique alternate identities from a couple years back. And I love that they did that. Bootleggers is a more common thing, but I'm glad they're doing that on a night I'm in town. So yeah, just looking forward to refamiliarizing myself with the hot rods, because it has been a really long time since I've been there. I remember last time I went there, Brad Taylor was the GM, and I was talking to him about his impending move, which I think was then just becoming official, to El Paso to oversee the Chihuahuas. And he's still there today. So that's how long ago it was. My last visit to Bowling Green predated the inception of the El Paso Chihuahuas, which, hey, if you're a minor league guy or gal or person, it's been a long time. But anyway, going from there to Louisville. And I believe I got it down saying Louisville. I used to say Louisville, but I just worked for that LOOL, Louisville. Seeing the bats again, it's been 9 years since I've been there. Got some good leads on some story ideas. More your wheelhouse and your neck of the woods, Sam. But obviously the bats have had some real interesting players this year come up and make an impact. So I've been getting emails from fans talking about how this was one of the more fun years to be a fan of the Louisville Bats, strictly from an on-field perspective. But just looking forward to seeing all that again. Gotten some, as I said, some good article leads. I'm hoping that the cookie lady will be in attendance, a local entrepreneur with her own cookie business, who's often at bats games, and that's the kind of person that I like to profile for sure. Moving on from there to, again, AAA International League all the rest of the way. Indianapolis Indians, Victory Field, 9 years since I've been there. Beautiful ballpark in downtown Indianapolis, real close to where the Indianapolis Colts play. You've got the Indiana Capitol building in the background. There's been some new development around there that makes the Capitol maybe a little less prominent, but some big hotels in the skyline, but really impressive environment. And AAA Pirates affiliate. I think it's a prospects weekend where they're doing some Pittsburgh themed alternate uniforms, so that should be good. They have a lot going on. Team's been real communicative with me so far. I've been getting a lot of newsletter reader feedback, so I think there'll be a lot going on in that night. And then closing out the season on a Sunday afternoon with the Columbus Clippers, another beautiful downtown AAA International League ballpark. Again, I haven't been there in 9 years. Tons of history there. They have had a guy there for many, many years, Joe Santry, who has done a phenomenal job of collecting and contextualizing the long history of baseball in Columbus. So always looking forward to exploring that kind of thing again. I was informed recently that they have the Governor's Cup. The International League, from 1933 to 2019, they played for the Governor's Cup, which was when you won the champion, you got the Governor's Cup. The apostrophe is after the S because it was multiple governors awarding this cup, apparently. I don't know the exact story behind it. But the Clippers won in 2019. Then there was the COVID season. And then with all the reorganization, they just have not brought the cup back into the mix. So I was like, man, I want to see the Governor's Cup. It's in Columbus. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I can write something about the Governor's Cup, because that cup's seen a lot. I think it's like the Stanley Cup. It's not like you get a new one every year. Like the Governor's Cup has traveled the International League since 1933. So right now it resides in Columbus.
Yeah, similar to the Stanley Cup. I would love there to be like a protector of the Governor's Cup, just one person who's designated and has to watch that thing all the time and wear the white gloves and bring it all over the place. If you can do your, you're always doing your subversive joke of the day, but if you could somehow turn that video into you drinking out of the cup, I will.
I'll go for it.
I will find a prize to
it.
give you on your way back.
I'll take some of that illegal whiskey I get in Bowling Green and sneak it into Columbus and drink some moonshine from the Governor's Cup. That's the way to close out the season. And thanks for the idea. What better way to put a bow on another season of ballpark travel than drinking whiskey from the Governor's Cup?
I think you might be joking, but I seriously want this to happen. This is called synergy, and the fact that you would be bringing something from Bowling Green to Columbus, I love it. I want it to happen so bad. Well,
Yeah,
Ben,
yeah. It's only a joke. It's only a joke till it happens. Then it becomes reality.
ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? We're talking to you here on the second day of the trip. You've only got one place down so far, but as you're kind of looking forward to this, I feel like this is the question I ask you all the time on these trips. What kind of ties this together other than just location? Like, what is there anything that you've understood over the years to be what is Kentucky, Indiana, um, Ohio baseball? Like, what kind of ties all this together in terms of Midwest Southern flavor?
Well, outside of the hot rods, there's obviously the just AAA International League connection, and then I think a byproduct of that, which also includes Bowling Green, but the history is not as prominent, but is baseball history. I mean, these are all cities that have long, 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 deep, deep, deep roots in professional baseball. So everywhere you go, like where I was yesterday, First Horizon Park in Nashville. The Sounds used to play at Greer Stadium, which is a couple miles away, but prior to playing in Greer, they played at Sulphur Dell, and it was a classic ballpark in Nashville from the late 19th century into the 60s. And First Horizon Park is in that exact same location. And I think with all these towns, you can really make those connections to baseball history. Some of them had major league franchises along the way, and the early 19th century. Just as corny as it sounds, but as baseball tells the story of America, and America tells the story of baseball. I mean, I think a lot of these cities here in the Midwest with a lot of history. Just the baseball history reflects the history of the cities, and it's long and deep and interesting. And of course, that goes for everywhere that you find baseball. But I think you have some more iconic and deep-rooted towns around where I'm finishing up the season.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's what stood out in my mind too when I was first asking the question. It's just the history at some of these places and how they embrace that history. Especially, like I'd seen in Nashville and Louisville when I was there earlier this year. Both of those clubs really love diving into that kind of stuff, and obviously Columbus does too if they're holding on to the Governor's Cup. It's recent history, but it is a piece of history that they're holding on to there. All right, Ben. Well, there's tons of other stories that you've written recently. Everybody can check that out on milb.com. We'll talk about those more once you are back in New York. But thanks for joining us from your trip on the road. Have a safe drive to Bowling Green, and all points beyond that. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, man. See you in the office next week, and I've got a lot of adventures ahead until Sunday. It's going to be an action-packed couple days, and some new records to listen to when I get home, and it's all good. It'll all be fun. Trying to put a nice little bow on this segment, and I didn't get that great closing line, but you know what? It's okay. Gonna hop in the car and drive to Bowling Green.
There you go.
Actually, I'm in the car. I'm in the car. I'm just gonna stay in the car and drive to Bowling Green.
Ben's Biz Banter sponsored to you by Grimey's. I'm just going to will this into existence that we can get Grimey's, the record store, to sponsor your segment.
Hey, I know a guy. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Grimey's is a great record store. There's a free plug for you. Next time, pay me, Grimey's.
There we go. All right. Talk to you soon, Ben.
All right. See you, Sam.
Greetings from a hotel room in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Earlier this evening, I saw the Bowling Green Hot Rods, and during my time at the ballpark, I spoke with Hot Rods Assistant General Manager Ashlee Wilson. She's taken a unique path to get to the world of minor league baseball and is forging a unique path now within the industry. So, without further ado, here's my interview with Ashlee Wilson of the Bowling Green Hot Rods. Bowling Green Hot Rods Assistant General Manager Ashlee Wilson, as well as front office dog Turbo hanging around.
Turbo's my shadow these days.
Yeah, and you're at the ballpark a lot these days
Yeah.
as the assistant general manager of the Hot Rods. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is, everyone has their own unique career paths in minor league baseball, but you seem like yours has a lot of different unique stops along the way. So where to begin?
Yeah, well, really, it starts back from the very beginning, getting right out of college. I went to Western Kentucky University, which is here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Born and raised here, but went to school for musical theater. So ended up moving to New York City after I graduated because that was the logical next step for, the stage. Ended up working in the business, in the industry, but on kind of the behind the scenes. Ended up working for an entertainment and production company, producing a lot of theme park shows, cruise ships, corporate industrial events, and fell in love with the behind the scenes type of work in the performing arts. So learned how to produce, learned how to direct. And so that, had my niche in the arts. Came back to Bowling Green, ended up working for the Performing Arts Center here just down the street, and then got recruited by the Bowling Green Area Chamber of Commerce as a partnership sales representative. And it was funny because I thought, I don't have much sales experience. The only sales I've ever done is selling Girl Scout cookies when I was 10. But it was really just my connection with the community, since this is my hometown. And I love talking to people. So it was an easy fit, an easy role for me. I loved it. I met so many people, and I actually met Eric Leach, former president and COO here, and Kyle Wohl's current GM. Life took me away for another couple of years just outside of Nashville, and then this opportunity opened up here with Hot Rods for a corporate marketing manager position. And I wanted to get back home, and I thought, this is kind of perfect. It's the sales and the networking, community relations, and it's events because, baseball is an event space, venue, experience, production, if you will. And it kind of launched from there. I got here, and 3 weeks before the season started in 2021, Eric looked at me and said, "We didn't hire an on-field MC. Would you want to do it?" And my theater, self said, "Absolutely. Give me that microphone. Put a camera on my face. I have no shame." And 3 seasons later, I still service the MC, but have been fortunate enough to grow from corporate marketing manager. Once I was a part of that creative side as the MC, they brought me on as a director of creative. So I was director of marketing, partnerships, and creative. So promotions, marketing, social media, all of that good stuff. And continue to grow because, as I've told you before, minor league baseball, obviously we've got the baseball, but the really great part about minor league baseball is that we also have the production. We have the show, and that is my niche. That is what I'm great at because that's what I've done. And so this role has kind of culminated into really everything I've ever done and that I've been good at. And I have never felt more fulfilled in a career than I do now because I literally get to do everything that I love. I get to work with my community. This is my hometown. I get to network and work with other businesses and organizations throughout the community because that's what I love. I get to perform every night because still the MC. So the concourse, the dugouts, the field, they're my stage. And, as a whole, I get to put on a show. I get to put on a memory-making experience for our fans, and I love that because I remember going to games when I was a kid in Louisville or in Nashville, and the fact that we have something like this here, it really has fulfilled me to my core in ways that I never imagined I'd be in sports, and now I can't imagine a life out of sports. So, it's been a really interesting journey to get here, but it's all added up to be able to do what I do now as AGM.
Yeah, and you're doing a lot as AGM, but you still are able to utilize that performance background. What are some of your favorite things in terms of costume, between contests, singing? What do you bring to this role?
Yeah, so I sing the 7th inning stretch every night because I am a singer. So that was, one of the fun things also is that I still get to sing every night. And I love doing that. And yes, you've touched on the costumes. You've seen me in some wild wigs and costumes in my past. Again, it's that theater kid in me that I just love dressing up because, again, we're making memories here. People see me in a wig, they want to take a picture. They see me, dressed up in an inflatable unicorn costume, they want to get a picture. They remember that because I'll have kids come back and say, "I remember you had, glitter in your hair, or you were this unicorn, or you were wearing a mullet." And again, I want to go all out because it's somebody's first time in this ballpark. It's someone's first time experiencing what we have to offer here outside of baseball, but as entertainment. So I go all out. I will wear the wigs. I will wear the makeup. I will wear the crazy costumes, because at the end of the day, I want people to remember that we go all out here. We're not just trying to, piddle around and do the least. I'm here doing the most.
And to that end, tomorrow's game, which we're talking on Thursday, but Friday, September 8th, fans will get to see you as Cruella
DeVille. There's my wig up there. It's a little crazy and still needs a little loving. And I know everyone that's listening can't see it, but
you can imagine in the black
you
and the
can
white.
Imagine. And obviously Turbo, who is here, he will be sort of a Dalmatian, but he'll be my dog. We're getting him a Dalmatian bandana, so it'll be close enough. But again, I love getting to be these different characters and be these different personalities, because that's just who I am. And I love being able to stretch that creative side of myself, because I was born with it. I was born with that passion. Obviously, I went to school for it, have a degree for it, worked in New York City for it, and the fact that I get to bring that to Bowling Green, Kentucky is pretty special too.
Yeah, and when we were talking earlier, you also do radio, is that?
TV. Yeah. So I am a local morning show host. Currently for the local NBC and CBS affiliate, WNKY. And I have been doing that for about a year and a half now. And I'm very good friends with the general manager of the station. And I worked with her years ago, met her through the chamber. And really everything I've done up to this point is I have to thank the Chamber of Commerce, because I really got to meet a lot of people. And she reached out to me probably close to 2 years ago. And she said, I want you as my host. And I said, absolutely not. No way. And she's like, yeah, Ashlee, I still want you, and I'm going to fight for you. I said, all right, we'll keep fighting, because I thought there's no way. And then she approached me with different things. And I said, we've got a great broadcast journalism school a mile up the road. Why do you want me? And she was like, because you're from here. You're a personality. And you care about what this community has to offer and what you offer to the community. I was like, okay, well, here are my rules. If I have a late night, kind of like tonight,
yeah,
I can call them up and say, hey, guys, I can't make it tomorrow because I was at the ballpark all day long. And they're so flexible. They give me everything I need, so supportive. But yeah, I do that. I'm the crazy person with a 5 a.m. side hustle, but I love it, because I do get to be more ingrained in my community than I ever thought possible. And they love the fact that I have the connection to the ballpark. And so I get to talk about the ballpark as much as I want.
Yeah, so we're here talking after a pretty brutally long ball game.
It was a long game.
It's 10:15 now. Do you think you'll be on the air tomorrow morning?
You know what? I probably will be, because I'm one of those people. I'm no quitter. Not that but I have the option. And that is what makes me feel good. But I know we're at the end of the season here, and my long days won't be as long come next week. And it really is a mind over matter thing for me, because I have people ask me all the time, like, how do you do both? And it is a little crazy, because I am burning the candle at both ends, but I'm fulfilled in both of those things. And I just, mind over matter. If I go into every day waking up thinking, oh, this is going to be the longest day ever, then it will be. But I go into it thinking, I'm going to have fun today. Because I do. I have fun in everything I get to do. And I'm making an impact in everything I do as well.
Yeah, starting the day on morning TV, ending it in a Cruella DeVille wig. That's just another day.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Well, now that you've had this role and learned so much about minor league baseball and have it be so fulfilling, like, where do you see things going from here, as time progresses, as your career progresses?
Yeah, so, it's been an amazing honor and privilege to be the first female assistant general manager in franchise history for the Hot Rods. I love that. I am honored by it, and, I'd love to see myself, become GM one day. I think there's still things I need to learn. I know there are things I need to learn. Kyle's been a great teacher. Everyone with MILB has been a great teacher. All my, everyone that we work with at MLB have been great teachers. And as a matter of fact, Zach Grab actually sent me some connections with other women in sports just so I can pick their brains, have a mentor, because I know with there being so much to learn, I can really take to heart some of the things that they do on a day-to-day basis and put it into practice. But I love that I learn something new every day, because if, you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're dying. So I'm glad to know that I have something to look forward to in learning every day. Today I learned that this was our longest game this season. But no, it's, at the end, it's all worth it. I love it. I love what I do. And I hope to see myself, grow into something, even bigger than what I'm doing now.
Yes, there's still things to aspire to. And I guess to wrap things up, Turbo, the front office dog, the ballpark dog, is sitting on your office floor.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just speak a little bit about what he means to the team and the ballpark, and maybe what he's going to be aspiring to as the years
Definitely. So Turbo will be 4 years old next month. He was brought in just before 2020 to be the team's bat dog. He was trained to fetch the bats. There are videos out there. He can do it. But, of course, his first season was supposed to be 2020. Obviously, COVID shut down that season. So we brought him back to do it 2021, and he did do it. However, he wasn't used to the pine tar because he was never trained with it. So we thought, okay, we'll have to retrain him. Unfortunately, his trainer is not doing that business anymore. So we're looking to find something else. But he'll carry out game balls, little baskets of game balls or waters for the umpires. So he still does that a little bit. Right this year, he's been a dog of the people. He is a therapy dog. He's a comfort dog. He's an entertaining dog, because he was out on the field tonight before the game, running around between the players. The coaches and managers love him, and he brings joy not only to the players, to the managers, but to the fans, definitely to the front office, because, who doesn't love a dog running around, and the joy that he brings, because he is such a good dog. And I'm hoping next year we can bring him back to what he was originally meant to be, which is a bat dog. Find him a trainer, find him a handler that can be in the dugout with him for a majority of the games, and get him out there, because the fans love it. And he did do it, and he actually went viral for it, fetching his first bat back in 2021. And he's great at it, and it's so entertaining, and I know he'll be able to do it. He still knows all his commands. He can still do it. It's just we got to get that pine tar. We got to get him used to pine tar. But he brings so much joy to our office and to the team, and I know he'll continue to for years to come.
Yeah, so much more in store for Turbo, much more in store for you. I guess one more to wrap it up.
Yeah.
What costume that you have not worn at the ballpark as part of a promotion do you think would be your ideal costume to wear?
Oh, gosh.
What persona would you most like to inhabit?
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful question, because I would have told you 2 years ago it would have been Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus, because that is the character. That's who I've wanted to be for Halloween for years, and I got to be that character 2 years ago. And so now I'm trying to top that. I'm trying to think of what I want to be, because I have red hair, so I got to do my hair all crazy. I got the dress, and I had the most fun being Winifred, and that's one's hard to top. I'm gonna have to really think on that one. I am excited about Cruella tomorrow, but anytime I can just be over the top and memorable, recognizable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And yeah, we'll have to be determined on that one. I've got to think about it, because there's a lot of potential out there. A lot of good characters to bring to the ballpark.
All right, well, keep in touch. Let us know.
I will.
Want to see what's in store.
I'll send you pictures, all the costumes.
Please do. But for now, thanks so much for talking to me.
Ben, thank you. I appreciate it.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once put on his spikes season after season. The others didn't even have feet, or bodies, or souls. I made them up. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. Billy Resident. B. Charlie Mansmaker. C. Eddie Householder. You're safe at home if you picked C. Eddie Householder, whose 13-season minor league career took him back and forth and up and down across the North American continent over parts of 2 centuries. Householder was first domesticated in his home state of Pennsylvania, born in Pittsburgh in 1869. Householder left the familiar and hit the road to turn pro at age 27 as a member of the 1897 Palmyra Mormons of the New York State League. What exactly did Householder do before that? He may have been something of a homebody, as the historical record leaves much to imagine. But newspaper accounts from the era suggest he did play in the independent Cumberland Valley League of 1896, and Householder very likely spent all of his 20s holding his own on various industrial, ragtag, and semi-pro circuits, both international and domestic. What we can say for sure is that Householder became nearly a householder name, or a household name, in the old Eastern League around the turn of the century, playing across 3 seasons in great minor league cities such as Rochester and Buffalo, where the newspapers lovingly referred to him as Hottie Householder and the Hottie One. He also courted success with Cortland back in the New York State League where he started. He thereafter headed across the American territory, serving a stint with Rockford in the 3I League before playing the first of many seasons he'd spend on the West Coast, all over California, as well as in Oregon, Washington State, and British Columbia. His largely Pacific Coast-inclined career was interrupted by his breaking through with Brooklyn of the National League at age 33 in 1903. But he was only there long enough to get into 12 games, and ambled back westward with stops on Midwestern teams along the way. One thing Householder never held was his opinions to himself. In a 1901 incident, while he was playing for the Los Angeles Angels against the Commuters up in Oakland, Householder was ejected after being called out at third base on an attempted triple in the 5th inning. With no showers or clubhouse to retreat to, he sat on the bench until the 8th, when Oakland pitcher Cy Russell came to the dish after a long pause in the action while the Commuters skipper made up his mind whether or not to pinch hit for Russell, who'd apparently coughed up a few runs and walked possibly as many as 6 in relief. "You have a nerve to bat, you have!" Householder shouted, prompting the umpire to demand Householder's eviction from the premises. His removal, the San Francisco Call reported, required a uniformed police officer. "Householder, the Angel strong hitter, is a kicker as well," the paper noted. As a player, Eddie wrapped up his A-plus minors career with the Victoria Bees of the Northwest League in 1911, co-managing that team. He went on to also manage the San Bernardino Kittens of the Southern California League in 1913. And that's how Eddie Householder made his home on the diamond. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these teams never struggled to be heard from in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Jersey City Announcers. B. The Bandon Big Mouths. C. The Bridgeport Orators. Want to know the answer? Talk through it. Or tune to the next Ghosts of the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is trying rock climbing for the first time, and I can't leave him hanging.
Well, that was just radio magic, you and Ben. And, of course, Josh Jackson. A little different spin to Ghosts of the Minors this week, by the way. Now we're talking individual ghosts, in addition to talking team ghosts as well. So, you know, we're mixing things up on Ghosts of the Minors. Don't ever say we don't evolve on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could look back at episode 5 and prove our own evolution to ourselves, right?
Boy, couldn't we?
I won't do that anytime soon. But,
But we could if we wanted to, is what we're saying.
we could if we wanted to.
All right, MILB.TV is your place to catch all the best and brightest across minor league baseball. Sam, what do you got an eye on in the minor leagues this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually throw it to next week, a 6-game set between Montgomery and Biloxi. We were talking about playoffs before and the postseason coming around for the minor leagues. It's the last series of Southern League play next week. As we sit here on Thursday, Montgomery has half a game lead over Biloxi in the Southern League South Division. So that is still very competitive. Every game is going to mean something next week between those two clubs in Biloxi. And it's also just a loaded matchup. On the Montgomery side, you have Junior Caminero, who has really come on strong the last 2 months. He's been really good all season long. There's a reason why he's a top 10 prospect for us. But he's really, really been good to the point where I think if Montgomery wasn't competitive, he might be at Durham right now. But because the Biscuits have something to play for, and also Durham is pretty loaded with infielders themselves, the Rays are keeping him with Montgomery, which is to the Biscuits' benefit. And then on the Biloxi side, one of my favorite prospects, of course, is Jefferson Caro and Jackson Churio. Love both of those guys in the Brewers system. Both of those guys still remain with the Shuckers as well. And again, I think part of that has to do with the fact that the Shuckers have something to play for. So that should be really, really fun. Both of those teams, if they don't clinch, the second half championship or the second half title, they're not going to the playoffs. So their season would be over. So tune into any of those games next week. It's a 6-game set in Biloxi. Like I said, it always is. But yeah, every one of those games will be really fun to watch. So keep an eye out for that. Tyler, what are you watching?
I like it, Samuel. I'm going to Double-A, and the matchup between the Northwest Arkansas Naturals and the Frisco Rough Riders. The Rough Riders, obviously, with a whole bunch of talent, including Jack Leiter, who recently, was starring in throwback Rough Riders uniforms. Not often we see a minor league throwback with the same team name, but Frisco did it. Frisco now has Wyatt Langford, who was the 4th overall pick in the draft, MLB's number 13 overall prospect. I believe that I plugged a Wyatt Langford game like 2 weeks ago when he was still in Hickory, and now he is up with Double-A Frisco. So he will be taking on the Kansas City affiliate, the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. They got a lot of prospects on that team, including second-ranked Royals prospect Caden Wallace, and you can catch those games, including the MILB TV free game of the day coming up on Sunday as Northwest Arkansas takes on Frisco. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. A huge thanks to Benjamin Hill for joining us from the road. The always continually evolving and growing Josh Jackson with a new slant on Ghost of the Miners. And for Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Maughan. We'll catch you next week.